Alright guys, today's video is planting pasture grasses for cattle with no heavy machinery whatsoever. But first guys, we've got some Shepherdess merch going on. We have Think Big, Start Small, Don't Quit shirts. We've got the book on beef that turned me into a shepherdess. I know, it doesn't make sense, but it's a true story. If y'all want to get Shepherdess, get yourself an orange visor, wristbands, and water bottle stickers, my favorite of which, well, this will be my second favorite. Farmers Have More Fun, as well as Think Big, Start Small, Don't Quit. All available at shopshepherdess.com. All proceeds of merch sales go to fund the copious amounts of electric fencing that I need until I can actually sell some of my sheep. Now let's get to today's video. So what I'm getting ready to show you is how I planted pasture grasses, given all of the resources I had available, not necessarily how you should plant pasture grasses. What I did was I was looking to add a little bit of diversity to my pastures. They were not bare ground pastures. There was already grass there. But with the ryegrass that I planted and the crimson clover that I planted, I was just looking to add a bit of an increase in nutrition to an existing pasture. I am going to roll the process in hopes that it inspires some of you who may need to get some seeds in the ground and don't have a lot of resources at hand. I think that the results I got were moderate. They weren't as good as they could have been, but I did get some results and it really excited me. The crimson clover came up really strong and was grazed by my sheep after they lambed, which was an excellent little boost of protein for them. So I'm gonna roll the tape, and I'm also going to show you some footage of what actually came up from that planting. So 2 hours and 2 acres later, got 2.16 miles going. So I actually planted ryegrass, crimson clover, like I said. The crimson clover is called a green manure, so it really pulls a lot of nitrogen to fertilize the soil as an animal would. Now you probably will have to do some research as far as if these two forages are appropriate for your area. Crimson clover grows pretty wild here in Upper East Texas. The fact that I planted it here just was because it hadn't been planted on our pastures for quite a while. There was a bit of it when we moved in 3 years ago, but this planting was sort of just to re-establish it on that pasture. Okay, I am planting some grasses today, and I am planting these for a grass-fed and finished beef and lamb. Here's my horse. So I have no heavy equipment right now. The four-wheeler is even down. So I'm planting this all pretty much by hand. I did buy a seeder that kind of goes around your shoulder, and I'm going to show that to you. So I'm going to plant 15 pounds per acre of ryegrass and 8 pounds per acre of crimson clover. I might go a little bit over on that, maybe like 10 pounds of crimson clover and 15 pounds of ryegrass. But there's a couple things I need to do first. Number one, there are chickens up there in that 4-acre area that we're working on. And I need to see if they're actually gonna eat it. Because if they are, I need to move them out. Because I bought grass seed and not chicken food. So both of these plantings are annuals, but they reseed themselves. So if I manage it right, it's November now when we're planting. We'll start grazing them on it in March. And then I'll plan to take them off by May 15th so that the plants can go to seed and reseed themselves. And so even though it's an annual and not a perennial, if you manage it right, it will actually continue to give you plants year after year. So annual means one and done, basically. The plant grows a year and then dies and reseeds, and the new seeds come up the next year. But perennial, if I'm right, means the plant just goes dormant. So year after the year, if it's a perennial plant, the same plant will just keep regrowing and then going dormant and then regrowing and going dormant. And then the annual, like I said, annual will be one and done, and whatever grows back the next year is actually a new plant from the seed it produces. So little annual versus perennial definition. So I bought this little bag seeder from Gemplers.com. Please don't buy from Amazon because Amazon is killing local businesses. So whenever I have a chance, I try to buy from a local business and not Amazon. In fact, I haven't bought off Amazon in 8 years. Gave it up 8 years ago, guys. Absolutely possible. So the way that I'm grazing right now, I'm splitting up each paddock into about 1/5 of an acre, and that's for 3 steers and around 30 sheep, and that lasts us 48 hours. This actually allows me to do more with less. I don't have to plant my whole 30 acres with ryegrass and crimson clover. If I can break my paddocks up into small pieces and just keep regrazing that 4 acres, I'll be able to do basically the same thing with that 4 acres as I would be maybe on like a 10-acre or 12-acre continuous grazing situation. So you can sort of see in the background here what I did. I put a row of electric fencing to fence off the 4 acres that I'm working on, and then the steers have been on here grazing for about almost 2 weeks and kind of grazing it shorter so that the seed to soil contact will be better chance of it. This is actually a little bit over a 7-acre pasture. This pasture just does a little bit of a slope, and I'm planting at the top of that slope based on some advice that I got that said that the drainage will be really good for what I'm planting. Because crimson clover actually does best on well-drained soil, so planting it up here at the top of just this slight slope is going to give it its best opportunity for growth. And actually this pasture used to have crimson clover in it, but here's what happened is that we took hay on it one year too early, and it was in like full bloom and never grew back after that. So it's really important to let it go to seed and don't make hay off of it. So the answer is unfortunately yes, the chickens really like the seed, and I'm gonna have to move them off here before I plant. So what was interesting though is they were only eating the ryegrass seed, and the crimson clover has this inoculant coating on it, so I'm thinking that's why they didn't eat it. Doesn't really matter either way, but kind of an interesting thing there. So before I started farming, I would exercise for like an hour a day. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put my Runkeeper app on and see how many miles I actually walk for this 4-acre planting. Since I started farming, I haven't really had to exercise much. Some areas over here that are growing what's called 3-on, and I learned that that is actually an indication that your soil's extra poor there. So I'm gonna run my extra crimson clover over those patches to see if we can get some kickstart there. So 2 hours and 2 acres later, got 2.16 miles going. Okay, all the seeds I'm gonna plant are in the ground. I have no equipment to drag it right now. I'm gonna see what happens if I just graze the animals through the places that I planted, and maybe their hoofs and the trampling will do the job for me. We're gonna have a rain tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna try to graze them through all the areas I just planted, and we will know next March if I made the right decision or not. Also, for those wondering, I struggle with the chronic over application of sunscreen. So that's what you're seeing right now. So I think the overall moral of this story could be, do what you can with what you have and see what you get. Because who knows? I mean, you may get just exactly what you need.